Welcome to the Fencing Success Podcast, a show where fence and deck contractors are looking to grow their company and take it to the next level. Hey, I'm your host, Marko Sipila, co-founder at FencingLaunch. In each episode, we will be interviewing successful business owners, vendors, and a whole lot more. We'll see you on the podcast. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. Your host, Marko Sipila, co-founder here at FencingLaunch. And I am joined today with an amazing entrepreneur, and where you're going to learn more, insights and secrets in the home service industry. Today, we have a very special guest. He's a true visionary in the business world, Brandon Vaughn. He's the founder of HireBus and, a few other successful companies that he's launched and sold, such as Conquer and Wise Coatings, which I'm sure we'll be talking about. But welcome to the podcast, Brandon.
Thanks for having me, Marko. Did you have a legit introduction? I was fired up. I'm like, oh, heck yeah, let's go.
Man.
I love it.
Super excited to have you on here. And I feel like it's been a minute since we've actually sat down and spoke, since maybe a few months ago. But like I said, super excited. And let's just kind of jump straight into it here. Super excited, by the way, with your journey, your map to $1 million, which I feel like everybody has seen on YouTube. It's gone viral. And then
I wish it had gone viral. I can't figure out the YouTube world. It doesn't have as many views as I'd like, but
I saw you on Upflip as well, which was awesome.
That one went more viral. We got over 1 million views on that one. They definitely got a good system there.
Yep. And everybody's been talking about that. So we have a lot I want to cover today. And I guess just to kind of jump in, first things first, I guess just kind of a more broad question, like what got you into business firstly? Like I know you ran your owner operator a company a while ago in Portland, and then you started Conquer and a flurry of other businesses. But tell the viewers a little bit about how you got started in all of this, honestly.
I've been in home services all my life. My dad was actually a home service business owner, but as an owner operator. So, kind of some context from the day I was born, all I've ever known is my dad owning a owner operator business where he was the guy on the tools every single day and had between 0 and 1 employees for my entire childhood. I was one of those employees. He'd pay me 5 cents a screen to go out and wash window. He took advantage of all the child labor laws, and washing the towels and coming out and working with him. But it was amazing. It was cool to see, like, wow, this is a path that I could take someday. And the day I turned 18, I went out and got my own business license and started my own window cleaning company, of course, and did property maintenance, started a construction company called Cutting Edge Interiors. Okay. Ran that for a few years. And I feel like I've made every single possible mistake that a business owner could make. I've done a lot of really stupid stuff. And, we've lost our house. We've been on food stamps with some of my entrepreneurial ventures, quote unquote. It wasn't really until like 2012 when I finally started, like I read the E-Myth book and was like, oh my gosh, I got a coach. I started surrounding myself with more successful people. And that's where I really kind of felt like I grew up as an entrepreneur and stopped thinking, so much as just an owner operator, and started looking at like, how can we build a business? And All Clean was my first kind of venture into that, which was, taking a window cleaning pressure washing company from 0 to 70 employees. And that was kind of like my first, I'll say my big boy pants business, where I started thinking about things a little bit differently.
Yeah. And that's the company that I had actually first found you on. Like, I was scrolling on Facebook or something, and I saw you were running this business, and then
awesome.
Started seeing the other things you were involved in. But hats off. It's been just amazing watching your journey as you grow and scale. And I think I was listening to a different podcast on you. You said you had 9 different companies now that you operate or you're just involved with. And I want to talk about some of those as well, because recently you've started another company called Wise Coatings. I think as of 2021, you had started that. And it's got 35 locations now. So tell us a little bit more about that journey.
So in 2019, it kind of starts back then when I launched Conquer, which was a coaching organization for home service business owners. And I launched that because while I was growing All Clean, I had a ton of people asking me for coaching. And I realized really quickly, like, okay, I only have so much time on my plate to coach people. Let me go out and find, 30, 40 coaches that all have grown successful businesses. And let's like build a community of people that could support each other. And that's what Conquer was. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to do, because I had sold All Clean in 2018 to start Conquer, was start another home service business. I was really itching to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do it as kind of a thought experiment of what if we started a business from zero in an industry I have no experience in, I have no history with, and started a business without doing any of the work in the field, without answering any phone calls from day one, and without going out and even doing any sales from day one. So it would basically require me to hire 2 to 3 people from day one and start ramping up marketing from day one. And that's what we did. We kicked off Wise Coatings, and it was a YouTube series that we documented called Map to a Million. To kind of, there's 16 episodes there, kind of the first 4 months chronicling it. And then after that 4 months, I had a lot of people reach out and say like, hey, could we open up a Wise Coatings? And so I brought in a business partner to help me franchise it because I never franchised anything before. And then between my locations I own and our franchisee partners, we have 35 locations now in about 3 years, and continue to grow. We'll add on probably about another 20 more this year.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And I know you're really big on just kind of putting the right people in the right seats, right?
Yeah.
And how important that is, as you grow any business. And the viewers that we have are obviously fencing and decking businesses. And, there's smaller companies just like any industry. And then there's the bigger companies just like any industry. And I guess more so for the, small to medium-sized companies, because I was looking at HireBus, and you guys are trying to fill that void of the small to medium-sized companies. You're trying to help them with their hiring resources because they don't have as much resources as the bigger companies, right? The larger companies. And I guess tell us a little bit more about how do you go about hiring and putting the right people in the right seats, like from an organization standpoint?
Well, I'll tell you what we do with Wise Coatings. So my philosophy with hiring is it's first and foremost a marketing problem to solve. What's a harder sell? Going out and convincing a customer to buy a new fence or buy a new deck, or going out and convincing another human being to spend 40 plus hours a week, which is almost more hours with you than they spend at home with their own families, their waking hours, in your business with your supervision and your company, helping to create your dreams. Like that's a really tough freaking sell to convince another human being to do that. But we spend so much time thinking about how to get fence and deck customers and not nearly enough time on how to get internal customers, people that would buy into our company and decide to work with us and help us build it and help us grow it and, make an income, make a living, make a career out of it. So there's tons of people right now in your market, if you're watching this, that would love to work for you and your company. They'd love to work for a small family-owned business just like yours. They'd love to work on a different site every day. They like to be outdoors. They love hard work. They love coming home and feeling like, wow, I had a great day today, but they don't even know you exist. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of the main problem that we had with Wise Coatings was we're this brand new company. No one had ever heard of us before we started. And now we had to convince people to come and work with us. So it kind of starts at your job ads, how you write your hooks, how you write your ads that really sell someone into the position, sell them on the opportunity, sell them why it's great to start out at the ground floor, which it is. It can be very great to start out there. And what's in it for them, and there's a lot more that we could talk about, with culture and how that kind of stuff, but it kind of starts as that marketing exercise. And just like you figure out how much your cost per lead, your conversion rates, your customer acquisition costs, you can look at that for hiring. What's your cost per application? What's your cost per interview? What's your cost per hire? So same principles apply. It's just, you have to stay focused on those marketing principles for hiring.
Yeah, no, totally. And if you don't, you talk about the companies out here. I mean, I hear it all the time, right? We work with hundreds of companies, and what they tell us is, oh, it's hard to find talent, it's hard to get people, or nobody wants to work, and all of that. And I simply don't believe that. I think there is people out there. I think you have to create a company where people want to work for you, like you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? And just to kind of, the importance of hiring the right people as well, because I mean, as an owner, you only have so many, hours in a day, right? And if you're trying to do 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, or whatever in revenue,
Yeah.
you can't do all of it yourself. Like, it's going to
Absolutely.
require the
Yeah.
internal team members, like you're talking about, in that regard. So I guess, like, I wanted to ask you this because I was holding it for the interview here. What are your biggest nightmares, maybe in Wise Coatings or any of the other companies, of employees and just people in
Oh
general?
man, where should I begin? My goodness. Let's see. I'll just share like a couple rapid fire quick stories. One time I said something really stupid at one of our team meetings and demoralized my entire company with something that I said. And within the next 2 weeks, over half of my employees quit and went to go work for one of my competitor. Now, when this happened, we were booked out solid for 2 months on our
Yeah.
schedule. And I
Wow.
lost over half of my employees. And I
Yeah.
had no job ads running, so I had to start from scratch. I've had employees, threaten to sue me for wrongful termination, claiming everything under the sun. And, where we're at, especially, it's very pro employee and it's not very supportive of employers. So you have to take your lumps and bumps and bruises on that one.
Yeah.
I've had people show up to work drunk. I've had someone take out an entire fence on their drive to the office, one of our neighbors' fences, like literally 50 foot of fence, because they were drunk driving in their vehicle.
Wow.
I've had people quit on the spot, of people not show up to their interviews, not show up to their first day of work, just ghost you randomly.
Yeah.
It's
Just
really
not showing
hard
up.
to manage people. It's really hard, and when you think about these other businesses, like a retail shop, you sell products. And you have to have your suppliers and your vendors. You buy products, you stock them on the shelf. People come in, they buy the things off the shelf. Like, there's not too much people component to that. In a service business like ours, we don't sell fences and decks. We literally sell technicians that show up and perform the installs, perform the services. So our product that we offer as a business is not things that we, something that's just, it doesn't have feelings and emotions and dreams and aspirations. Like it has that heart and soul. It's not like those just products on shelves. And managing people, leading people, selling vision to them, setting clear expectations of what's expected of them, having a good culture where they feel, appreciated and inspired and recognized. It is way harder. So when I hear people say, like, I just can't find anyone, I agree with you that there's not a whole lot of truth to that, because they're out there. It is harder to find people, though. It's harder to lead them. And it takes a lot of skill sets that a lot of business owners have just never thought of developing, because they haven't needed to. Maybe they started their business as the guy that installed fences and decks, and they worked for someone else, and they're like, I can do this. And like, all those skills are in one box. The skills to run a business and to lead a team of people to do those things is a whole nother skill set that they probably didn't go to school for. They probably haven't done too much research. Maybe you haven't read too many books on how to do that. That was me. I'm describing me, basically. And I sucked as a boss for years and still, struggle with my own weaknesses on that side. So it is tough, and then you have all these big box stores like Amazon's and FedEx and Walmart's and everything else that are hiring up hundreds of thousands of employees at a time. The talent pool is a lot smaller. So that's another challenge that we're up against.
Yeah. Which becomes even more important.
Right.
To, the things that you're talking about and helping these home service companies with. So, just a thought here, in the home service industry, I think your maps, like where it's marketing, admin, production, sales, I think that applies to all businesses, right?
Yes, it does.
All businesses have marketing. They all have admin,
Yep.
production or operations, and then sales.
Yep.
So if you're a fencing business and you're doing, let's say $500,000 a year, and you're kind of an owner operator, like, how would you suggest going about that? Because you want to hire for each one of those departments, essentially.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So, you're doing $500,000 a year right now in your fencing and decking business, and you feel stuck. The first question I typically ask a business owner is, okay, growing a business is a lot like a teeter-totter. One side we have all of our sales and marketing, getting customers, having enough work on the schedule. The other side is having enough guys, gals, crews, trucks, equipment, supplies to be able to complete the work. And typically a business is one or the other. Like, okay, they have so much sales and they're booked out 3 months. And they could, if they had more crews and they had more, employees, they could grow like crazy, but they're stuck because that's like the bottleneck. Or it's the opposite. They have no work on the schedule for tomorrow. And they have 3 crews and they're stuck. So I like to try to kind of figure out, where's the main problem first that we need to solve, and then focus on that. And usually with a business owner, one of the first areas that you kind of need to systemize and put in place is your production department. And production department is all of the, technicians to go out and do the installs, your contractors, your subs, or, your own employees, the vehicles, your tools, your organization, your inventory systems, to where you as the owner should just be selling in theory, or answering phones and running marketing. And then you should be able to have your production department so well dialed to where you can just put work on the schedule and it's going to happen.
Right.
You can tee up the production department to, hey, here's what, here's where you get the supplies. Here's what you need for tools. Here's where the job is. Here's the blueprints. Go do it. And then very little supervision is required to make sure that job goes well. And you have a production manager that makes sure that that happens properly. Once you get that part locked in, then you can focus on, okay, let's get the sales and marketing stuff going, to just keep scaling, and then have someone that owns this department over here to kind of keep up with that.
Yeah. I like how you said, like, in the production side, they should be able to do it with very little oversight or management, because, that's where it comes down to, like, putting the right people in the right seat, providing the resources, having the training, making sure they're set up for success. I mean, you can't expect them to just do everything and expect to do, know everything.
That's right.
But at the same time, not have to like micromanage them or rip your hair out trying to get them to do something.
Yeah. And that's where systems come in. So, amazing book. If you haven't read it, read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And for me, this was a transformational book for me. Another really good one is called Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. And these books and the principles that, every business owner needs to understand is you need to have systems. And a system is a documented process on how to do something important in your business. But that key word is documented. Right. So, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to build a fence. We have a standard process for doing that. We use X number of fasteners. This is what the system is. Have you follow the checklist of making sure that before you go out to the job, you have all these tools on your truck. You have all of these, supplies and screws and fasteners on your truck. Do you have your blueprints mapped out on the property of exactly where everything goes and all your takeoff measurements, and exactly what that is? Do you have a checklist for your technicians that say, we're going to walk through everything with the customer before we begin? We're going to come and we're going to talk to them in the middle of the job. What do you say? And then at the end of the job, doing a final walkthrough. Like, all those checklists prevent you from needing to be a micromanager of people always saying, okay, boss, what do I do next? Boss, what do I do next? And the more that you can just set them up to just take care of all that on their own, the more freedom it gives you to then go and, help actually scale and optimize the business.
Yeah, no, totally. Where would you suggest for these people, like, as they develop their companies, where are they hosting these systems? Like the documented structures, is this just in a Google Doc, or where do you recommend the?
Oh, that's such a good question, Marco. There's a lot of different places that work for different types of systems. We use a house called Pro for our business. There's lots of CRMs out there. A CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management Software. And a good CRM will have the ability for you to have customer info, job info, a calendar to schedule jobs, the ability to build out checklists. So like in our software that we have, that we use for Wise Coatings, and again, every business is different. We have checklists for every job. So embedded into the CRM, when we go and we start a new project, there's a checklist that's automatically created that a technician has to go through and check off every single step of it in order for them to mark the job as complete. They cannot mark the job as complete, and they cannot move to the pay step until they finish that checklist. So like there's an example of where a system could live is inside of there. Another example is training videos. Yeah. So, next time you're building a fence or building a deck, give your, one of your assistants or one of your technicians or one of your guys or gals your camera phone, and then describe, okay, here's how we're going to lay out this fence. And here's step one, here's step two. And and sometimes these videos already exist on YouTube. If you find a really good video that someone else recorded of how to build a fence or how to build a deck, and you're like, this guy knows his stuff, this is how we do it. You can borrow that video and load it into your training video library. And that can, be a link. It can be a document. There's lots of different ways that you can do it. But then when you hire people, you say, okay, first thing you're going to do is go through our training videos. And then we're going to have this little quiz on a Google form, that's going to make sure that you've retained it. And then, we're going to then take you out in the field and we're going to show you it. And then the last step is we're going to watch you to make sure that you've actually, retained it and you're doing it properly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes it a lot more helpful. And you don't have to make it very complicated. Like I know a lot of these people are probably listening like, this is complicated stuff, but not really. It's just it's literally just the way you do it. Like making the French fries the same way every time. Right. The same way every single time. Right.
And, 2 pickles and a squirt of ketchup and mustard. Right. Yeah. For the burgers.
Yeah. And just mapping that out video will definitely be helpful. But let's transition a little bit into, your latest company here, the software company for HireBus. I know there's a lot moving and shaking over there, but let's just cut straight into it. So tell us a little bit of an overview. What is HireBus? How does it simplify the hiring process for small businesses, including fence contractors, right? It's not just limited to concrete coatings or the things he's doing. This is also applicable to just home service, abroad, but how does it simplify it?
So the way that it simplifies it is it does all of your hiring done for you. So you have an account manager, you tell them, hey, I need to hire some, laborers or a foreman or, some lead technicians or an office manager or a salesperson or a general manager or a CEO for my company that I just bought. You literally just tell your account manager what you want, and then HireBus does everything else for you. We go and use AI to automatically post job ads, split test a whole bunch of them. It'll automatically optimize it to make sure that you have the maximum impact, the most amount of lead flow coming through. We post them on job boards for you. And then we automate all of the connections and contacts and nurture sequence for all the candidates to where it takes you to what we call our right seat assessment. And this is proprietary to HireBus. It's a 1-question survey that is so powerful. On the back side of it, it'll give you 21 behavioral points on a candidate and tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 how well of a fit they'll be for a given position.
Wow.
So, will they be a good fit as an outside salesperson? Will they be a good fit for a lead technician, for an office manager or production manager? You'll be able to see the benchmarks on there, and it gives you insights into that person. And it helps you prioritize who you should interview and who you should actually be talking to, and whether or not they'll be a good fit for a position from a behavior standpoint, which is way more important than hard skills. Soft skills are, to me, way more important than hard skills, because hard skills can be taught. Right. It's really hard to teach behaviors. Yeah.
Those are just kind of innate. They're natural.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the software is going to help weed people out. It's going to weed the junk out. It's going to say this candidate, this lead is bad. This person's going to be a higher likelihood of success with the company. Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Is it okay if I show my screen and just show what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, if we have this here. I'll go ahead and pop this up. So this is in essence what it looks like here for a candidate. So on the back end of this, for this individual, for a general manager role, I'll be able to see exactly how well of a fit they fit for a general manager position. And I can see, all the different things: proactivity, dominance, endurance, where their scores are. If there's a coaching video for someone, if maybe they score a little bit too high or low compared to where they need to be. So this is actually a gentleman who I hired as general manager for our Wise Coatings of Bellevue. So when we opened up that location, the first hire I made was a general manager to run operations. And so he's the tip of the spear that is doing all the hiring of all the technicians, the salespeople, the office manager. And we have, a whole AI assistant that will read their resumes and give you insights and even tee you up with what interview questions you should ask them on your interview. So like all of that's just kind of built right outside in the software. So you can see, kind of where everyone is, what coaching report they have, what their key behavioral traits are. It's really in depth.
Yeah. So I guess you said it was a 1-question survey. How does that come up with that much data from one question?
That's a good question. You want to try it out? I think we'll have to have you see what that question is that we do. Actually, if you want, I can, anyone watching this, you can take the survey for yourself. You can see what the one question is. It's actually a pretty fun process to kind of go through. And it takes about 5 minutes to answer the question. And there's a specific way that you go through. And then on the back end of it, once you take the assessment, we'll send you all your results, to where you can see what your coaching report is, what your behavioral blueprint looks like, and kind of see some of those insights and see, where even you could improve yourself. We've used this for Conquer to coach business owners to be better CEOs. I use this to coach myself to be a better CEO. I score very low in criticality. I see the good in everybody. And there's coaching videos and resources that help me improve my criticality and realize that's a weakness of mine that I need to intentionally work on, when I talk to people.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, everybody's got room for improvement. So it's always nice to see kind of where you're lacking on. That way you can, rewrite the history a little bit. But let me move it back a little bit, because I want to get into screening and identifying talent and some of these other things. But
by the way, really quickly, the HireBus.com/free. If you want to take that assessment for free, it's normally $50 to do an assessment, but that'll get you a chance to take it for free. Sorry, go ahead.
It's HireBus.com/free.
Yeah, HireBus.com/free. Yeah.
Okay, good. It should be something like that. Put on
Love
the screen.
Perfect.
But awesome. So like I said, I'll move back a little bit. So in Wise Coatings and the other home service companies that you've either coached or you've had, before you go to HireBus and say, okay, here's the people I'm looking for, right? Because let's say they're hiring for 4 people or 5 people. What are the key indicators of who you should hire next? Because that's kind of the first step before you move forward with something like HireBus, right?
Yeah, it is. And the first thing that we kind of look at is, we take our MAPS framework: marketing, admin, production, sales. Those 4 departments. Every business needs to eventually hire someone to sit in those departments that owns those departments. Because from day one, that's the owner. The owner's responsible for marketing. The owner's responsible for answering all the phone calls and scheduling jobs and doing payroll and doing, all the back end stuff. The owner's responsible for going out and doing the work in the field. And the owner's responsible for doing sales. Mm-hmm. So what we really kind of take a look at is I ask owners, what do you hate to do the most? What are you bad at? Are you terrible at office work? Are you terrible at going out and doing sales? Your closing rate's terrible. You're very shy. You're very timid. You don't like talking to people. Maybe a salesperson should be some of the first that you hire. And then eventually, in any home service business, an absolute critical break point is the owner needs to get out of the field and needs to stop doing the physical work. And we've coached in Conquer. We've coached over 20,000 business owners.
Wow.
And the biggest break points that business owners have is when they get out of the field and they take that first scary leap of faith and just focus on the other aspects of the business and work to systemize technicians. So when you're just getting started, if you're great at sales, you do a good job, you're okay answering phones, get out of the field first and hire technicians to replace yourself. And don't just hire assistants and laborers. Hire someone that will be with you for a long term and pay them more, because the value of you getting out of the field allows you to work on $1,000 an hour tasks,
right?
Rather than these smaller tasks that can be farmed out to other people on your team, and should be built out, because no one else is working on all those higher level things when you first get started.
Yeah. And that's really scary though, right? I mean,
It's super
think
scary.
about an owner operator having to let some things go a little bit, especially the installations and the quality control and all of those things. So what about that?
I remember with All Clean, the first time I had hired 2 technicians and they were now running their own truck. And me, I just jumped over to my next truck, right? So like I was lead technician in my first truck. I hired a lead technician to work with me. I trained them to be a lead technician. I then became their assistant technician, where I let them take the lead on jobs, talk to customers, and I was just like their helper. And now I could watch them and I could coach them. And then I hired an assistant for them. And then I moved to, okay, now I'm going to be on my own truck number 2. And now I'm working on truck number 2. And I repeated that process a couple times until eventually I wasn't on any trucks. And my second truck, when I let those go, and I wasn't doing any more work in the field, and I set a hard date for myself, I would go out and stalk my employees on jobs. I would like park on the road like a couple blocks up so they wouldn't see my car. And I would go and I like sneak behind bushes and I would watch them to see how they were doing, and, and try to spy on them and hear what conversations they were having. Again, I wasn't a good boss, and that was part of it, but it is scary. It's terrifying. And you're going to get fix-its, and you're going to get callbacks, and you're going to get issues. And, the immature business owner will say, I need to be back in this again. I can't trust anyone. But the reality is we've all made mistakes. I've done stupid stuff where I'd cut things wrong and I knew that it wasn't my best work and I let it anyways, trying to hope it would slide, or I damaged some person's property. Your employees are going to do the same thing. And the key is not to overreact and just take it all back. It's to say, what checklist can I put in place, or what training or tool or system can I put in place to prevent this problem from happening again? Okay, the guys, they totally messed up this fence, and it's not, it's spaced out wrong here. When I go out and do the sales, or I have someone go and do the sales, could I have drawn it out better? Could I have done something better to have fixed that problem, rather than just always blaming the employees? Yeah. But it's terrifying, man. Letting go of that control.
For sure. It is. And in every business, you got to do that at some point,
and not just letting go of control, but also being nervous about, can I sell enough to keep them busy? Like that's a lot of pressure too. Yeah. It's the thinking like, okay, now that I'm not in the field, can I really sell enough jobs? And this is really where, not only, as you get another truck, or as you get another crew going, and now you have to start raising your marketing budget, and increasing your ad spend. Like I know with Wise Coatings, if I want to add another truck, I need to increase my marketing spend by $6,000 a month. If I increase by $6,000 a month, that will get me $60,000 worth of work for another crew. And so, okay, I want to hire another crew, $6,000 a month. Hire another crew, $12,000 a month. Hire another crew, $18,000 a month, and just continue to scale up. So, you can't just rely on word of mouth referrals. You have to, find that good customer acquisition engine, and that helps bring a lot of peace to that decision.
Yeah. Would you say that's pretty universal across all home service companies? It's usually like 10%. If you put $1 in advertising, you'll get $10 out. Would you say that's pretty?
I wouldn't say it's universal. There's some industries that are tougher. I think that, with fencing and decking, it could be between 10 and 15%, kind of depending on how fast someone wants to scale and grow, as far as how much of their target revenue they want to achieve versus how much they should be spending in marketing efforts. Mm-hmm. But there's the companies that I've seen that have the lowest marketing spend. When they go out and they give a quote to a customer, they knock on all the neighbors' doors and
Yeah.
they try to turn that one lead into two leads.
Yeah.
And one estimate into two estimates, and saying, hey, we were just over next door at Mary's house. We're going to be doing some work for them next door. You're going to be hearing lots of noise and lots of cuts, or, if there's a good neighbor, fence, now you can go talk to the neighbor and you can talk about what their side's going to look like, and, try to get people on board. There's tons of upsell opportunities.
Yeah.
And, having your automated postcards that go to all the neighbors of your jobs, and having your yard signs, and having your door hangers, and that's what keeps your overall marketing spend low, to where you can start seeing even better ROI than that 10-1.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll bring down your cost per acquisition dramatically. If you just
for
do
sure.
things like that, knock in, and that's free. You're just knocking and you're building a relationship with somebody you're doing a job down the road with. But
100%.
awesome. Okay, cool. So that was really good feedback for the audience on sort of how to, what indicators there are to, hiring for your next, person. But I guess in terms of, because the last thing that you guys go into is, it's essentially going to, give people a rating on how likely they're going to be successful in this position, and it's screening, right? So now that you're kind of doing that interview process, what are the best practices for screening candidates effectively with HireBus?
So, you get the automated interview questions that'll pop up and give you questions to ask to kind of pick apart things. You get a resume summary that shows where gaps are in their resumes. And, so you don't necessarily have to go through and read everything. You can just kind of see a little more pointed, and it takes all their behavioral stuff and kind of combines that in with it as well. But the big thing that I look for is the interview questions, and, asking questions and having a systemized approach on how to interview someone that gets you good insights into whether or not they would be a good fit. And one of the biggest things I think a lot of people overlook is they don't hire for core value fit for one of two reasons. One reason is they simply don't have core values. They've never sat down and thought about, what are my core values? And so they're just absent. Or two, they don't think about, if they do have core values, they don't think about asking questions about the core value fit during the interview process. So for Wise Coatings, we have 4 core values that spell the word base: Buffalo, Ascend, Serve, and Efficiency. And so, Buffalo is a core value because it means we run towards problems. We charge the storm. We're not cows. We don't run away from the storm.
Yeah.
And so we'll ask people, hey, what are some examples of times in your previous jobs where you've ran towards problems that you've seen? And, if they grasp and they can't figure out what to talk about, and they don't resound with that or resonate with that, we know they're probably not going to be core value fit. If they ask, tell us about your thoughts on having a servant heart, and they're like, servant, I don't like being a servant. We know they're not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
Do they level up personally and professionally? Are they always looking to ascend? And what books have you been reading? Did you ever play competitive sports? What are some things that you're doing currently to level up in your life? What are some of your goals? If they got nothing, okay, well, this is not someone who wants to do better in life. So they're not going to be a good fit for our culture, because we talk about that all the time. And it's important for us to surround ourselves with people that want to level up personally and professionally. Efficiency. Where do you look for, optimizing efficiency? And so that part of the process, when you're asking people questions about, will they make a good fit? Don't just have it be vanilla interview questions. Like, really find out, is this someone who, what an amazing gift we have where we get to pick our coworkers.
Yeah.
Let's pick good ones.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Because why not choose people that are going to be a culture fit, people that you're going to be able to communicate properly with, because, everybody communicates differently.
Yeah. The problem is most people, they just kind of settle.
Mm-hmm.
They may put some job ads out. They get, 40 candidates, and then, over half of them don't fill out the application, and then maybe only 3 schedule interviews, and then 2 of them ghost. And then you get one guy or gal, and you're like, well, we got to hire this person because they're the only one that showed up.
Yeah.
Like, your top of funnel should be massive. You should have hundreds of applicants, so you have more volume to then filter out. You should be in pain trying to decide who you should be hiring next.
Yeah.
And, to do that, it's a marketing problem to solve. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of what we've done with HireBus is we get big, huge, massive top of funnel applicant flow. And that just gives people so many options of who to pick. And that's what leads to a higher success rate.
It's the same thing as a sales funnel. You got tons of leads that come in, not everybody buys, 3% are ready to buy. Over here, when you're hiring, you're going to get hundreds of, applications, but you're just kind of using this software to mitigate you choosing the wrong person, essentially. So,
yeah, man, exactly right. Exactly right. It's all the same parallels, right?
Yeah. So, just to kind of in closing here, tell us a little bit more about, like, where do you see the future of hiring in small to medium-sized companies? Like, where do you see the landscape evolving in sort of this sector?
Oh, everything is going to be done by AI, all of it. So, the app that we're building now, what HireBus is going to continue to be, and we're already, producing features in this set is, your app, you're just going to click the HireBus app and you're going to talk to Val. And you'll just tell Val, hey, Val, I really need to hire some better technicians. Val's going to take care of everything from start to finish, including interviewing people, teeing them up, and just, getting the pre-interview part done. And then coaching on the back end of it. So, the cool thing about what we have with HireBus is we have all of these people's behavioral scores. So we're going to build out, entire coaching curriculum for your production managers and office managers and salespeople that's based on their behaviors and is highly customized and tailored just to them, their industry, their company. So, these tools are already existing for enterprise level companies, but they cost thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And they're not accessible to the small business owner. And that's what our whole purpose is for HireBus, is to empower small business owners with enterprise level tools. Because Amazon's got all these types of tools. You best believe they're using them to hire 100,000 people in a year. Well, what about the small fencing and decking contractor that's trying to hire, 8 people? Let's supercharge his hiring efforts, to make him feel like he can compete with the larger chains. And that's kind of what the future to me looks like.
Awesome. Yeah. And just be a resource, right? And so I just pull up your website here. Looks like people can find you on hirebus.com.
Yeah.
Right. And it looks like, you can essentially book a call with your team. And there's a couple different products here. There's the Right Seat, which is the assessment, and then there's the Done For You hiring, the funnel, where you guys kind of do everything for them.
Yep.
Where else can people connect with you?
Definitely hit me up on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I use Facebook pretty much only for business, and you can message me on Messenger. I try to post on there pretty much purely business stuff. That's where I connect with all my fellow entrepreneurs. But also feel free to just go onto this site here and go to hirebus.com/free. If you want to type that in, Marko, there, you can kind of show them what that page looks like. And then you can just fill that out there and you'll get your free Right Seat assessment. You'll get the link. It'll take you straight to it, and you can just start taking it right then and there.
Awesome. Cool, man. And just a couple things going on in our neck of the woods. If you're a fencing contractor, looking to grow, take your business to the next level. Later this week, we have a live masterclass. It's on July 12th on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be talking about how to overcome common struggles and challenges, growing in today's market. So definitely register for that. All you have to do is go to the website here, FencingLaunch.com, and then you can go to the masterclass section right here, and you could register for free to join that. So awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Brandon. And super excited to see what the future holds for you guys.
Thank you, Marko. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for everyone tuning in.